Okay, it's time to do just a little bit of scribbling. Pencil on paper. And we're not planning it out at all because, think about it. It's just a Thursday morning. Who's got time for that? Who's got the mental concentration to sit down and be a mastermind of a drawing when it's just 10:17 on a Thursday morning? It's like the second day of a brand new year. I think we can give ourselves a little grace and just sit down and just scribble some lines, just like this. If you don't know how to start, take your pencil and do one of these. Just kind of let your hand spasm and twitch a little bit. Okay, and then you can build off of that. You can find the parts of the curves and lines that you like and emphasize those and kind of ignore the other parts. And the parts you don't like will kind of get lost in the mayhem of the rest of it. If you want to, you can have a little eraser, but you don't need to have an eraser. One of your best tools can be something I like to call hatching. That's what I'm doing right now, hatching. Yeah. And just scribbling, coloring things in. I'm enjoying pencils lately because I can do like this kind of thing where it's just a light tone, or I can come back in with a darker shade, or yeah, there's just so much flexibility with pencil, right? This is pretty, this is nice paper. This is a sketchbook that was made for me, handmade for me by a friend named Kendall. And this paper is pretty nice for pencil drawing because it's a little bit rough, right? When you're drawing with pencil, you don't want paper that's too smooth. Smooth paper is a little bit better if you're maybe using ink or markers, because then it doesn't, pick up absorb too much of the ink from your markers. And if you have a marker, some of these art markers, they're a little bit scary. You can end up spending multiple dollars on one art marker, and then you can be afraid to use it even. It's not good to be afraid to use your own art supplies because they cost too much, or you're afraid of them being used up. You've got to be excited to use your art supplies and not be afraid of them being used up. But that's what happens sometimes if you use paper that's a little bit too rough, too porous, too absorbent, because then all the ink just goes right out of the marker and gets seeped up into it, like one of those advertisements for super absorbent paper towels, where they, with one swipe, everything that they spilled onto the carpet or countertop or whatever is just gone. But it's good for pencils because, oh look, I'm smudging. It's okay. It's good for pencils because you pretty much want paper that's a little bit like very fine sandpaper, right? That's essentially what's going on here. And then the graphite is what you're sanding down. You're pretty much drawing on sandpaper. If your paper is too smooth, if it's not rough enough, if it's not a low enough grit sandpaper, then it's not going to pick up any of the lead and hold it in the teeth of the paper. I've got to put another piece of lead in my pencil. Really, I should put a bunch of pieces in here. But I'm just going to put one in right now. Just going to put it right in the front. I could put a bunch in the back. But this is what I'm doing. If I can get it right. There we go. Yeah, this is just scribbling. I'm just doodling with pencil right now. One thing I just noticed is it's very like center focused in the center here. So right now I want to kind of go off to the side here, see what's happening towards the edge of the paper. Maybe something cool can happen over here. Maybe I'll make something kind of dark and heavy over towards the side here to kind of offset the middle, draw the eye over here a bit. Oh, I pressed too hard. That was scary. There's the broken piece. Got carried away. It's good though. That's a good sign. A lot of the lines I'm making are lines that go with the natural movement of my hand. Like these lines right here. This is how my hand moves, right? And so that's why it's important to be aware that you can rotate your paper. That way you can get some other type of, it's okay if all your lines go in the same direction, but if you want some lines going in other directions too, it helps to rotate your paper for that too, because your hand naturally wants to make lines in a certain way. Like it's not as easy for them to make these lines, it's not easy for my hand to make these lines as it is for it to make these lines. Just with the way the muscles and bones and ligaments all connect and want to work together. I'm not even sure which way is up anymore, or how I first started looking at this drawing. It doesn't really matter because I'm not designing a building or drawing an animal or something that has to really interact with the ground or experience gravity or something. So it doesn't really have to have an up or a down. It's fine. I'm just kind of enjoying making long lines and short lines, interspersing them with heavy lines, and then some light lines. Just trying different types of contrast, like smooth lines and like some, rough lines, different types of contrasts like that to see which contrasts are interesting. Each drawing is its own little type of experiment. I'm never going into a drawing thinking, okay, I've figured it out. I figured everything out, so now I can make art. That's never the case. I make art while I'm experimenting. Or there was a slight cut in the video right there because I went to make sure my air conditioning is off, my heating is off, because I didn't want there's already some background noise, but I'm trying to see about making some kind of ASMR videos like this, just experimenting, because I already like drawing, and I think I inadvertently make some ASMR videos. So if you're into ASMR, let me know which boxes this checks as far as what you enjoy in an ASMR video and what you would like to see in the future, if you like that sort of thing. But if you don't like an ASMR video, this could still be a good video for you, because I don't even get ASMR, so I'm just still trying to make a nice, soothing drawing video, even for non-ASMR people. I don't know, is that crazy to try to be doing both things? We'll see. This looks like some kind of crazy, abstract, kind of strange bouquet with very squat. I think I'll make it even darker down here at the bottom. Yeah. A little more shading right here. Add some, it's not a real thing that exists that I'm drawing, but I'm still kind of imagining it existing in the real world. That's why I'm adding this kind of shading to it and imagining it existing in 3D space and having some weight to it, some texture. What would it before I said that it didn't have to interact with gravity, that was just during that moment. When I come back to it now, when I'm looking at it in this moment, I am kind of imagining it having some weight and sitting on a table, I guess. So it's not that I was lying in that moment, but it was just a different approach for different times of the drawing. Sometimes I feel like I spend too long on a drawing, because there's sometimes my favorite parts of the drawing are the ones where you can see like the fast kind of like gestural lines that I drew at the beginning when I didn't know what it was going to be, right? Those fast kind of flicks of the wrist, and then sometimes I feel like it loses that fun kind of craziness when I spend too long, kind of honing it and perfecting it, it starts to feel a little too polished, and in that polishedness it loses some kind of oomph. When you bring the polish, you got to bring something else with it besides polish, because polish ain't enough, if that makes sense. There's a lot of smudging from my hands here as well, which this could bother you. I've just learned to, it's kind of like some kind of atmospheric haze. Like when you're looking out across a valley in the early morning, it's not all clear as day. I don't know if there's fog, maybe it's pollution. There's something in the air. In this case, it's smudged pencil markings. I don't know how much more I should add. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. A lot of people ask, how do you know when you're done? And of course it's partly a gut thing, partly I don't know. Sometimes you know you're done because you regret adding something. You're like, ooh, shouldn't have added that. It's when if you add something else, the drawing starts to get worse instead of better. Sometimes you know you're done only after you've gone too far. And so sometimes you stop only because you've started to go a little bit too far. So every drawing is a little bit overdone sometimes. But then sometimes you start, that's a feeling that you can tuck away for next time. So then you can start thinking, yeah, I feel like last time I was in a similar situation and I kept going and I regretted it. So maybe I'll stop here this time. If that makes any sense. I feel like I'm about there with this one. I mean, that's fun. I like that. If I stop here, I'm pretty happy to get this out of a little. I mean, I don't know how long it's been. Was it like 20-minute sketch? 15, 20 minutes? That's pretty fun. I'm happy to look back on this. That feels like 15 to 20 minutes well spent for me, and I'm happy to flip the page and move on to the next one at that point, right? Yeah. All right, thanks for listening and watching, everybody. See you. Goodbye.